So let's talk about a personal growth journey today and what it means to your relationship, for better or worse. Because you see, we're all on a personal growth journey. Some of us may be growing faster than others. Some of us may be trying to reach different goals in different spots for ourselves personally than others. But we're all growing. The man I was 5 years ago no longer exists because I am now who I am. And that person's so much more wise, so much more knowledgeable, so much more able to look at themselves without the rose-colored blinders. Just like the person who you go on a first date with, they're not going to be the person that you marry. And the person that you marry, they're not going to be the same person that you are married to 10 years down the road. At least they shouldn't. And if they are, I'm guessing you got some serious issues going on in your relationship. Because we all have to keep growing as people. We come into the world as innocent kids, knowing essentially nothing. And as we grow into our first relationships, that's kind of how we behave. We know nothing, and we're looking out for our own needs and wants, the things that we desire. And without growing as a person enough to be able to take off those lenses that we look at ourselves through and the rest of the world through, so that we can start looking at ourselves and the rest of the world with a little bit of honesty. You see, I don't think it's till you really start maturing as a person before you realize that the whole point of a relationship isn't fulfilling your needs from your partner and your wants. It's you trying your best to fulfill those needs and wants of your partner so that they feel satisfied and that they feel like they are truly fulfilled. And if two people are both doing that together, you have a relationship, a cycle that grows and blossoms and continually pushes you up. But if one person has stagnated, if one person's not on that growth path with their partner, that person is essentially acting as an anchor, dragging down the relationship from where it should be, stopping it from being able to grow and find some amazing place, because you're just stuck. And it looks different when men and women both start and stop growing. You see, men, when we stop our personal growth, it tends to be more the physical stuff that you see, the effects. We tend to start getting lazier. We tend to start putting more time into the TV, the video games, the Netflix. We start packing on pounds as we stuff our face because the amount of activity we do drops. As women tend to stagnate in relationships, the ways it affects their relationships is a little different. It's more emotional. That's when you see women start to get bitter towards their husband, start to get kind of naggy. And if they're the ones not growing, it's the exact opposite. That's when you see the husband starting to get naggy and bitter and resentful towards them. Whereas if the husband's not growing, you can clearly see it in the woman's eyes, because she starts becoming resentful towards him. Because if we're on a growth path and our partner's not, we can see our goals. We can see the fact that we are changing and becoming something new and something hopefully better, while you're watching your partner not. They may be the greatest person on the earth when you met them, but if they just stay that way, if they're not actually trying to do anything else in life, what's the point? What are they trying to build? What are they trying to accomplish? And that goes into your relationship. If they're not trying to accomplish anything in life, is your partner truly trying to accomplish anything with you? You see, we both have to be on this journey together. And if you both are on that journey together, if you're both continuously looking at yourself in the mirror and taking off the rose-colored blinders and saying, these are my real issues that I need to work on, then you're both never going to hit that issue that becomes the wall of separation within your relationship. You're never going to come up against that impossible object that actually breaks you apart, because you're constantly growing. And when you're on that growth path and you do come up against some huge issue, some huge object, generally that's the point at which you start receiving that kind of internal fortitude to look at it and say, how can this problem become something that grows us closer together? How can this problem become something that brings us together more and stronger? I look at my own family, my own life with my wife, and our second child, Dakota. He was born with epilepsy. We watched him seize into the point where he would stop breathing, stop his heart, turn gray, sit there cold and limp as we try to breathe life back into them. You spend months and months in the hospital. And things like that are a huge stress, which a lot of times break up couples. Just the fact that it's so much to deal with. But we consciously took it on as an issue to come together and to try to strengthen us and strengthen our relationship. Instead of playing the blame game, instead of looking at what each of us wasn't doing to fully support him, we looked at each other as, what can we do to support not only him but each other? And because of that, those hardships, every time we were going through it, instead of becoming a point of contention and separation, it became a point of bonding and strengthening. And I don't think, if you're not truly looking at the world and looking at yourself openly and honestly, that's going to happen. I mean, it's so easy for us nowadays to fall into this kind of narcissistic routine. And just look on here, how many girls do you know who every guy they've dated has been a quote-unquote narcissist? I know loads of men who their women they're with are total narcissists. And I know loads of women who the husbands they're with are total narcissists. They actually can't think past any other want or need except for their own. To the point where it actually causes contention and stress within their relationships. When the other partner brings up the fact that, hey, I'm needing this, I'm wanting this. And it all stems back to because the narcissist person isn't on that same growth trajectory. They've stagnated at the point of trying to fulfill their own needs and wants rather than growing into a true adult that is looking to grow and fulfill others people's needs and wants. I mean, isn't that a huge difference? Look at people like that. Look at the narcissists who look after themselves. And look at the people who try to give to others. Look right on here, on the video creators. Those creators who give themselves most freely are the biggest. They're the ones that blow up like crazy. It's because people want to be around that. Because people can see what kind of goodness that brings about. Whereas look at the people who it's all about them. Their videos are all about them. Their videos are all about just what they want to do. Sure, blogging's cool. They might have a bunch of followers. Are they doing anything for anybody? No. Because they're not growing. They're not helping anybody else grow. Just entertainment. And really, it rolls into like every facet of our lives. Beyond our relationship. That's just the most obvious place because that's the place where most of us sit each day emotionally. But it's bigger than that. I look back at my own self and I'm not the same person I was a few years ago. And because of that, I've learned that not only have I grown and become better, but there's a lot more places I've realized where I still need to grow. In fact, I usually tell people that I've noticed over the years as my area of expertise increases, so too does the surface of my ignorance. And it's because the more I'm able to look at myself objectively, the more you develop that ability to look at yourself objectively. The more I'm able to look at myself and say, these are the points I need to grow. Once I grow through those points, the better able I am to look at myself again and say, these are the new places, the new goals, the new paths I want to take myself down. And you can do that too. And it starts by simply being honest with yourself. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is who I truly am. This is how I truly am. This is the kind of person I truly am. And this is the kind of person I want to be. And then once you look at those two honestly and objectively, you can start building that path from where you're at now to the place where you want to be in the future. And from there, all you got to do is follow the steps. But it all starts with that very first looking at yourself and saying, I'm not all that wonderful. I'm not the best in the world. I'm not a perfect 10. But I'd like to be someday.